move these, so now I'm moving back.
And I appreciate you thinking of me.
There's that one on the bottom. No, no.
How long are the girls going to get us there?
Just till Friday. So, and then we'll take.
Good afternoon. I'm David Patterson, and my colleague Ann Duco and I would like to welcome you to St. Luke's and the 32nd annual Fabulous Friday series. Yeah. A couple of things before we begin. The season schedule is on the back of your program, in case you're wondering who's coming next. Donation basket is on the table in the back, and we use the money for people in need or for our Jesus Fund here at St. Luke's. I would ask if you have a cell phone that you turn it off. If you need rest. And the most important thing, after the performances today, there will be desserts in the South Hall. Without further ado, please join me.
For over 30 some years, we know that you've been coming to the Fabulous Friday concerts for all the marvelous music that we have. And we know that you have noticed that we also have wonderful windows here. And we thought today we might spend a little bit of time, and I'd like to share with you some of the stories that are behind Louis Comfort Tiffany's terrific artwork. We're going to start with the window behind me, the one that you're looking at, and this is called The Angel Among the Lilies. Now this window was given in memory of Harriet Richardson, and poor Harriet died when she was only 18 years old. And this is what the family gave in her memory. Now Tiffany never saw a picture of Harriet. He would have used various models and unveiled. There was Harriet's likeness in the window. And I'll let you think about how did that happen. Now direct your attention up to the choir loft. There you'll find our King David window, the musician of the Bible. And this window looks a little bit different than the others because it's one of Tiffany's later works. And you know how artists change their style over the years. This was the last Tiffany window installed in the sanctuary, and that was in This is the only window that we know how much it cost. It was $3,000, less 10% for cash. And you'll also notice that it's very brilliant and the colors just jump out at you. Now direct your attention to the window above the organ. This is our baptism window. And I'd like to use this window to explain some of Tiffany's artistry. People will say, you tell a Tiffany window from just plain glass windows or stained glass windows? And I'll say, look at the faces, because the faces have a different glow to them than the rest of the window. So keep that in mind as we're moving around the room. Also, I'd like to point out that Tiffany was very much into attention to detail. And so I want you to look where Jesus is stepping into the River Jordan for his baptism, going into the water. And you think, who would do something like that? Well, Louis would. As I said, he was very much into attention to detail. And look where the Holy Spirit is touching the top of his head here. And it has a different glow to it than the rest of the window. John the Baptist is holding a staff in the shape of a cross, anticipating what's going to happen to Jesus in the near future. And look at John's robe. Doesn't that look like velvet you could reach out and touch? All of these windows have 3 to 5 layers in them, and that's what gives them their depth and dimension. Our next window is called the Good Shepherd window, and again, there's that red velvet look to Jesus's robe. Now, this window has a kind of a fun story that goes with it. In 1893, there was a World's Fair in Chicago called the Columbian Exposition, and Tiffany was asked to do a chapel for that window, or for that World's Fair. And he was thrilled. He wanted to show off his artwork. And we think that this window, the original of the Good Shepherd window, was on display at that World's Fair. We know for a fact that members of our congregation went to the World's Fair. I'm guessing they walked into the chapel and went, whoa, these are the windows we want in our new church building. And that's why we're blessed to have over 110 Tiffany windows. Horns on Jesus' head. There are nail holes in his hands and feet. So look for those details when you're up close and personal. Now, all these windows have been restored within the last 20 years. And when this one came back from restoration, we sent them to the Bovard Studios in Fairfield, Iowa. We noticed that there was a reflection in the stream here. Now, Tiffany called this window his 23rd Psalm in glass. And so, you know, there's a verse there about by the still waters. And do you see there's a reflection of the little sheep's head there? So it just makes it even more special and attention to detail. The largest window in the sanctuary is our Ascension window. This window was given in memory of Dr. George M. Staples. Now, our congregation has worshiped in 4 different buildings throughout the years, and in the early 1890s, Dr. Staples was a member of the Main Street Church, which was right next door, and he says, we're going to need a bigger church. And he gave $10,000 of his own money to start the building fund. So when it came time to name this building, we thought, well, what should we call it? We've already had a Main Street church. What should we don't need another Main Street church. What should we call it? And then they go, got it. Dr. Staples was a beloved physician in Dubuque. St. Luke was a beloved physician in the Bible. Put these 2 doctors together, and you're sitting in St. Luke's right now. Something I want to point out with this window, look at Jesus' robe. Doesn't it look like flowing fabric? This effect is known as drapery glass, and if you look back at the windows we've talked about already, you'll see that same effect of drapery glass. Above Jesus' head, we have 2 rows of cherubs up here in the clouds. And as you're looking up, I want you to look at the 6 medallions at the top of this window. And if you look carefully, you'll see one window looks a little bit different than the other 5. Do you see it? The top left window, the petals of the flower have been tipped 45 degrees. Now, Tiffany did this on purpose because he wanted to remind us that no one is perfect except for God. And happily, when they brought it back from Fairfield after restoration, they remembered to tip it again. Our next window is called the Angel of Victory, and she is standing under a grape arbor. So again, something that you want to get up close and personal and look at the grapes. She was given in memory of John Hancock, and John and his bride Bertha Enns were the glory of the resurrection. The last window on the north wall is called Jesus and the Children, and there's a gentle and tender beauty there. Where one artist would use a single piece of glass, Tiffany would have used 100. So each little petal had its own way of glowing there. And while Tiffany was studying art in Europe before he came back and started his glass factory, he loved painting the pastoral European countrysides. So that is reflected in his artwork and in his windows. Now, a quick story. This is a good time to tell you. Tiffany would have used unmarried women to assemble his windows. He knew that women had a more gentle touch for putting each piece of glass in place, but he insisted that they be unmarried because he didn't want them distracted at home by their families. Couldn't get by with that today, could he? Okay, don't want you to get a crick in your neck looking at the north wall, so now we're going to look over here at the south wall. These are our sliding doors, and they do open up for, the original plans were for for overflow seating. We do open them when our bell choir plays. And I'd like to direct your attention, and those are all Tiffany glass there in the doors. Direct your attention to the medallions at the top. At the far end, we have the A for Alpha. Down here, we have the Omega, because Jesus said, I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. Next to the A, we have a lamp, because Jesus is the light of the world. And up here, we have an open Bible where we can read God's holy word. Now, the 4 medallions in the center are symbols for the 4 evangelists or gospel writers. So first we have Matthew, shown as a winged man, because if you've read your Bible, you know that Matthew's gospel begins with Jesus' earthly ancestors. Mark is the winged lion for courage. Luke is the winged ox for service and sacrifice. And it said that John talking about the back wall, and so you can either scooch in your pews or turn around, and stand up, or however you want to do it. We're going to start up in the balcony, and I want to point out that yes, those are Tiffany lampshades up in our balcony. We have 2 upstairs in the balcony and 1 in our choir loft in the sanctuary. The largest window in the sanctuary is known as the unknown author of the book of Job. We just call him Job for short. And look at Job's robes. There's that velvet effect again. This window was given in memory of Jesse Farley, and Jesse was a very wealthy, very generous man, and our congregation has worshiped in 4 different buildings over the years, and Jesse gave the lots where 3 out of the 4 churches have stood. Jesse made his money as a lumberman and as a railroad man. And because he made sure that the railroad got out to western Dubuque County, people were so thankful out there, they said, "Thanks, Jesse, we're going to name our town after you." So that's how Farley, Iowa got its name. As I said, he was a lumberman, and most of this beautiful woodwork that you see in the sanctuary comes from Jesse's lumber mill, including the quarter saw. Parable is a story that Jesus told, and to make a point or to teach a lesson. The original plans were to have 5 parable Tiffany windows, but we only have one. Yes, but only one of them is a Tiffany window. And as it says in the program, I am a retired teacher, so I'm going to give you a pop quiz this afternoon, gang. I want you to point to the window that you think is the Tiffany one. If you do not know how exactly he did his artwork, and so after 1933, no more Tiffany windows were made. So this one was installed after that time. It's beautiful, but it's not Tiffany. So take a look, a few minutes, and compare the 2, and you'll see, yeah, there is a difference. And at the risk of sounding like a money changer in the temple, at the back of the sanctuary on the left side here, we do have souvenirs with different Tiffany things on them. And thank you for being such a good listeners.
Well, the rest fell off. Got to put it back on.
Well, I'm going to play the last piece of our program today, and just a quick word about it. With the upcoming celebration of Dr. Martin Luther and 2024 being an anniversary year for this particular piece I'm about to play, I thought I would program it today. This piece is by Billy Strayhorn, who's one of the great African-American musicians of the mid-20th centuries, the 40s, 50s, 60s, that time period, and was a very good friend of Duke Ellington. Duke Ellington died 50 years ago this year, in 1974. And Ellington's sister requested the organist of St. John the Cathedral, St. John the Divine in New York City, the Cathedral, Episcopal Cathedral of New York, if he would play or work out an arrangement.
So we wanted to thank all our performers this time. And we have Lorinda, I'm Ann Duco, Charles Barland, Dave Patterson, and Sue Haddle. Thank you. Ralph Klusman is next week, so come back. Remember, we've got desserts right over there, so thanks for coming.